press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hi everyone. So in the last session, we were talking about biodiversity. So in that we discussed the three levels of biodiversity. So that is, which are the three levels of biodiversity? Genetic diversity, species diversity and the ecological diversity. So what is genetic diversity? It is the variation at the level of individual genes. So when it comes to species diversity, it means variety of species so a variety of species in a particular region, within a region. So that is the product of species richness and species evenness. And one more level of biodiversity is the ecological diversity. So that means diversity at the level of ecosystem. Okay, so the diversity at the level of ecosystem is the ecological diversity. So these are the three most important levels of biodiversity. So that we have discussed in the last session. So in this session, I would like to take up magnitude of biodiversity. So magnitude of biodiversity, that means how many species are there on the earth and how many are in India. So totally how many species are present on the earth and how many of them, how many of the total number of plants and animal species are present in India. So that we are going to discuss today. So how many species are there on the earth? See, according to IUCN, so according to IUCN, so IUCN stands for International Union of Conservation of Nature and natural resources. International Union of Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. So IUCN stands for what? International Union of Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. So according to IUCN, in the year 2004, so the total number of plants and animal species, total number of known plants and animal species on the earth, it is estimated around, so it is slightly more than 1.5 million. So according to IUCN, so this was the 1.5 million. So according to IUCN, the total number of plants and animal species present on the earth, which already discovered and described, is slightly more than 1.5 million. Okay, so this is the number which was given by the IUCN in the year 2004. So according to IUCN, so these many species of plants and animals are already known. So that means these many species of plants and all animals, so they have already been discovered and described. So these are the noun species. So they are discovered and described in the sense these many species of plants and animals, so they are identified, they are named, and based on the characteristic features, they are placed in a respective group. So this is the number, that is 1.5 million, so it was given by IUCN. So according to IUCN, there are 1.5 million species of plants and animals have already been discovered and described. Okay, so these many species were discovered and described on the earth, on the globe. Okay, but so this is what the number which is given by IUCN. But still, there are so many millions of plants and animal species are there, so which are not yet discovered and are described. So still there are. So these are the noun species. 1.5 million species have already been discovered and described, but there are organisms. There are so many number of species that are yet to be discovered. So scientists they are trying since from many years to discover the new species of plants and animals which are present on the earth, but nobody has a clear idea regarding how many species are yet to be discovered. Because why? Because there are so many plants and animal species are there, and most of the species they are smaller in size. So because of their smaller in size, they find it difficult to find it, and so many of them are bacteria, and also so many of the organisms are microorganisms that we are not able to see. And there are so many number of organisms are there, so they are living in such a places where they are difficult to explore it. So some organisms are living in deep inside the ocean. So it is not possible for one to go up to that depth. So because as they are found deep inside the ocean, it is not possible us to go up to that depth. Okay. So as they are living in such environment, so they are living in such places that are difficult to explore. So because of all these reasons, still there are so many reasons are there. Because of so many such reasons, still there are so many species of plants and animals are yet to be discovered. So these are the 1.5 million are the known species of plants and animals on the globe. Okay. Similarly, several like IUCN, several scientists and as well as a taxonomists, they are also they also try to discover the new species, and they also estimated number of total number of living species present on the earth. But according to them, so what the number which was found out, no, it is very less. The number which was found out is very less. So because they also think that still there are so many number of plants and animal species are there which are not yet discovered and described. So as I said, because of their smaller in size, because they are living in such an environment, such a place where they are difficult to explore. And most of these estimation of species, it varies, because most of them are simply just educational guesses. So that the estimation of a species, so how many species are present exactly, so the estimation varies. So that most of them are educational guesses. And another thing is what the species discovered now. So still there are so many species are yet to discover. So they are present in such an environment and where they are difficult to explore, and also so many areas, many of the areas are not yet surveyed also. So for example, tropical areas. So tropical areas are the areas which come near the equator. So still there are so many areas in the tropical region which are not yet surveyed, but most of the taxonomic groups, inventories are almost completed in the temperate region. It is more completed in the temperate region, but still there are in the tropical region. But in the tropical region, so there are areas which are yet to survey. Okay, so if they survey all those areas, so probably the number of species would go up to 1 million. Okay, so based upon this and the number of similarly the scientists they are trying to estimate the number of species present in the tropical region. So they estimate the number of species which are present in the tropical region. So by comparing the species richness between the temperate region and as well as a tropical region. So they are trying to estimate the number of species in the tropical areas. See, tropical areas are having a more biodiversity than the temperate areas. So why? So that I will explain little later. So they estimated the number of species in tropical areas. So by comparing the species richness, between the temperate and tropical areas. So you know that what is species richness. So species richness in the sense a total number of species present in a given area. So that constitute the variety of species present within a given area. So that constitute what? A species richness. So the scientists they estimate the number of species in a tropical area by comparing the species richness between the temperate and the tropical areas. Okay. So by looking into it, so by all these observations, on the basis of all these observations, so some of the scientists and as well as taxonomists, they calculated the total number of plants and animal species in the on the globe may fall around 5 million to 50 million. 5 million to 50 million. So this was the number estimated by some of the scientists and as well as the taxonomists. But according to IUCN, the number of known species, the number of species which have already been discovered and described are 1.5 million. So this is the calculation by some persons, okay. So that follow based on all the observations by looking into all the aspects. So they calculated roughly the species, the number of species may fall around that is in between 5 million to 50 million. And one important thing is, one more important thing is, the most scientific and a conservative estimation was given by Robert May. So the most conservative and scientific estimation was given by Robert May. So according to him, the total number of species present globally around is 7 million. So according to him, by scientific estimation, the total number of species global diversity is around 7 million. So this was the number given by Robert May. Okay, so you have to remember all the things. So what is the number which was given by IUCN, and so this is the number that is between 5 million to 50 million was given by some other scientist and all, and the number that is 7 million total number of species diversity, global species diversity that is around 7 million. So this was given by the Robert May. Okay, so all these things you have to remember. Then, so of the discovered and described species already, so of the total number of plants and animal species which have been already discovered and described, so of them among 70% are animals. 70% are animals. So of the total of plants and animal species that have been recorded globally, so among them 70% of the species are animals. So that means animal the species, number of species of animals is more when compared to the plants. So animal diversification is more here, and the plant species constitute about 22%. Constitute about 22%. So there is a greater difference between the animal diversity and as well as the plant diversity, right? So when we compare the diversity of plants and animals, so we'll come to know animals are more diverse in species when compared to the plants. So what is the reason? So what is the reason for a more diversification of animals? Why there are so many species of animals when compared to the plants? So do you have any idea? Tell me if you have any idea. Animals, survivability, you just think of the survivability. So the most survival ones are the animals. So because animals, they are having a nervous system, right? So the animals are having a well developed nervous system. They can respond to stimuli, and most of these responses, so they are adaptive for their survival, right? And also the animals, we are mobile, right? Okay, the animals are motile. They are able to move from one place to another place. But whereas the plants are fixed. But animals can move from one place to another place so that they can avoid competition, so that they can escape from the predators, okay, and also they can avoid the extreme environmental or drastic environmental changes, okay. So by all these reasons, the survivability of animals is more when compared to the plants, okay. So this is because the animals diversification is more because they are having well-developed nervous system to respond to stimuli, and most of those responses are adaptive in nature, and they are able to move from one place to another place so that they can escape from the predators, avoid competition and all, okay. So that's why the number of the total number of plants and animal species which have been discovered and described are more the animals, they among them the percentage of species, more percentage of species, more species are the animals when compared to the plants, that constitute only 22%. And among animals, so of the total 70% of the discovered species are the animals, right? So among animals, 70% of the discovered species of animals are the insects. So among animals, when compared to all other animals, the majority of the animals which have been discovered and described are the insects, okay. So when compared to all other animals, the number of species, the more number of species are the insects. So that is about 70%. So 70% of the animals are insects. That means what? Among out of 10 animals, 7 are the insects. So that means 70% of the known animals are insects. Why? Because so insects, they belong to which phylum? The insects will belong to the phylum Arthropoda. So you know that phylum Arthropoda is characterized by presence of a hard chitinous exoskeleton. So because of the presence of hard chitinous exoskeleton, so that gives support, okay. So that give protection to the body, and it also prevents loss of water from the body. So because of the presence of a protective chitinous exoskeleton, so the insects are the most successful animals on the earth. So that they are more diverse species in nature. Okay, so this thing you have to remember. So of the total species of plants and animals discovered, 70% of them are animals and 22% them are percent So among animals, the 70% are the insects. So among animals, the 70% is 70% are insects. Okay, so you please remember these points. And So, but according to the latest survey, so according to the latest estimation, the total number of global species diversity. So, the total number of plants and animal species present the globe is, and the globe is, that is 8.7%. So, according to the latest estimation, so according to our latest recent estimation or latest estimation, the number of species fall around 8.7%. 8.7%. Among 8.7%, 6.5% of animal, both plants and animal species, they are living on land. So, this is what the recent estimation. So, that number is, the number given was that 8.7%. So, among of the total of 8.7%, 6.5% of the species are living on land, and the remaining 2.2% of the plants and animal species, so they are living in the ocean depth. So, this is what the recent estimation. So, according to IUCN, the total number of plants and animal species discovered so far is slightly more than 1.5 million, and according to some scientists, it is they calculated the total number of species may fall around 5 to 50 million. Okay, and according to Robert May, so the total number of global species diversity is around 7 million. And according to the latest estimation, the total number of global species diversity is 8.7%. Of them, 6.5% are living on land, and the 2.2% are living in ocean. Okay, so this is what the diversity which we talked. So we talked what all we discussed till now. So this is what the global biodiversity. This is the global figure which we talked about. But what about in India? That means how many species are present in India? Let us see. So, we'll come to know the species global diversity. So, all these were the predictions. And what about in India? So, how many species of plants and animals are present in our country, India? So, let us see. So, geographically, India is divided into 10 biogeographical regions, and nearly 2. So, India has a land area of India has a land area of total land area of 2.4%. Okay, so India covers 2.4% of the total land area of the world. Okay, so the area which covers is very less. The area which the India, it constitutes about 2.4% of the total land area of the world. So even though it has a lesser area, but the diversity it possesses, the biodiversity present in India when compared to this land area that occupies, that is 2.4% of the total land area of the world, the species it comprises is very vast. So that is, it is huge. that means 81%. So the share of species diversity, species global diversity is 8.1%. So even though it has a lesser area, land area, it covers only 2.4% of the total land area of the earth, but it possesses a large number of species diversity, okay. So it possesses large number of plants and animals. So that is 8.1% of the total species present on the earth, okay. So that we can say India is one of the, it is having a richest biodiversity. So because most of the land areas in India, they will lie towards the equator. So this we can say that from this information we can say that so this India, no, it is one of the 12 mega diverse countries of the world. It is one of the 12 mega biodiversity countries of the world. So the mega diverse countries in the sense the countries with a large amount of species. So countries which harboring most of the earth species, so they are considered as mega diverse countries. So there are 12 such mega diverse countries have been identified. So India is one among them, okay. So because of its rich diversity, so India is considered one of the 12 mega diverse countries of the world, okay. And it the number of species it possesses. So in India there are more than 45,000 species of plants. So in India there are more than 45,000 species of plants. Among 15,000 species are the flowering plants. Flowering plants, okay. So among so that when we talk about India's biodiversity, so India comprises of 45,000 species of plant. 45,000 known species of plants are there in India. Among the 45,000, 15,000 species are the flowering plants. And twice, and it also comprises the animals double than the plants. So it comprises of 45,000 species of plants and twice as animals. So nearly the animal species is around 76 species. So all these 45,000 species of plants and twice many number of animals and twice the number of animals. So these are all the already discovered and described species in India. So these many species of plants and animals already been discovered and described. So these are the known species of plants and animals. So you think about, still there are many species of plants and animals are there in India. They are not yet discovered and described, right? So we can estimate that if we accept the Robert May's global diversity. So if we accept his estimation, that is he says the estimation of global species diversity according to him is 7 million, right? So if we accept that number, discovered and described species, so only among them only the discovered and described species is 22%. So if we accept the May's global biodiversity, that is what 7 million. So is estimation. So this many number of species might have present on the earth, okay. So not all species of plants and animals discovered and described. So the discovered and described species among is about 22%. So only 22% of the plants and animal species have been discovered and described, right. So if we apply this data, so okay, so if we compare this data if we apply this data to India's diversity, so India's species diversity, so of the total only, so when we talk about the globe, of the total only 22% of the plants and animal species have been recorded, right? Okay, so if we apply this to India's diversity, so we can estimate that there are nearly 1 lakh species of plants. There are nearly 1 lakh species of plants and more than 3 lakh species of animals. More than 3 lakh species of animals are yet to be discovered. So, these many species of plants and animals are not yet discovered and are described if you accept the May's global biodiversity. So, this is what the biodiversity of India. Okay. So, India's diversity already the noun species of plants are 45,000 and the noun species of animals are twice the number of plants. It may fall around 76,000. So, of the so these are the discovered species, but still there are number of plant and as well as animal species. Okay, so still there are 1 lakh species of plants. Okay, they need to be discovered, and still there are more than 3 lakh species of animals they need to be discovered and are described. So this is such a huge biodiversity is present on the earth. Okay, so here they are given only the figure of plants and as well as the animal species, but they are not given any figure to prokaryotes. So prokaryotes they are not given any number. Okay, so why? Because they are not sure about the total number of prokaryotic organisms which are present on the earth. Okay, so because of their smaller size and microorganisms which are not which they are invisible to naked eyes, which we cannot see them. Okay, and many species of microorganisms, no, so they are not simply culturable under a laboratory. Okay, so there are so many reasons, and what methods they are using, what conventional taxonomic methods they are using to discover the species, no. So what they are using that is not suitable for the identification, that may not suitable for identification of those microorganisms and all. So they require some biochemical and as well as molecular criteria to identify such organisms, right. Suppose if we use such a biochemical and as well as that molecular criteria in the identification of the microorganisms, so their number may also run up to 1 million. So such a vast diversity is present in India. Understood? So they have given only the figure of plants and animal species, but they have not given figure of prokaryotic organisms. Okay, so this is what the biodiversity in India. Okay, so we'll come to know how many species are there on the earth, estimated species, okay, and how many are present in India. So understood this much clearly. Okay, so because of rich biodiversity, so India is considered as one of the 12 mega diversity countries of the world. Okay, so this is about the Indian biodiversity. Okay, then next is patterns of biodiversity. Patterns of biodiversity. So patterns of biodiversity means, so what biodiversity present on the earth, it is not uniform. So it is not present uniformly throughout the globe. Okay, so biodiversity, it is not uniform at all the places on the earth. So because some areas, some regions, so some regions may have a large number of species, and some areas or some regions may have a lesser number of species. So species diversity is more in some areas and it is least in some areas. Okay, so that Why such a difference? So this biodiversity, it is not uniform, okay, it is not present in same in all the places. So in some area the diversity is more and diversity of species is more, in some area it is less diverse. So why such variations in the biodiversities? Why there are so many species in some area and why there are less species in some area, okay? So that depend upon so many factors. So one such factors one such concept or one such a factor that describes or that defines the patterns of biodiversity, which we talk here is, so there are so many factors that defines the biodiversity, that is patterns of biodiversity. So why there are so many species in some areas and why there are less species in some areas. So many factors will define that, but here we are talking about latitudinal gradients. Latitudinal gradients. So you already know you already studied in the previous years in the geography that what are latitudes, what are altitudes, what are longitudes, everything, right? So latitude means here if it is a earth, so if it is a earth, so the central line which is present, the center ring is present, no? So that is considered as, so this line it is considered as the equator. This is considered as the equator, and these extreme tips, no? So these extreme tips are called as poles, north pole or south pole. Okay, and what these lines, no? They are the latitudes. And these lines represent longitudes. Okay, so here latitude means, so latitude means what? Latitude is the angular distance of a place, angular distance of a place north or south of the equator. So it is called as what? The latitude. So here there are so many places are present on the globe, right? Okay, so their locations, okay, so their locations, those places are measured in terms of the angular distance. So their locations are those places, no? So they are measured in terms of the angular distance of the places with respect to the equator. Okay, so that is what our latitude. So here the equator it is 0 degree and it goes on increasing, like here it is 20 degree and here it is 60 degree. So it goes on increasing from equator to poles. Okay, so we can say this place is located 20 degree north and this place is located 20 degrees south, we can say like that. Okay, so latitude is nothing but what? It is the angular distance of a place north or south of the equator. So how the places are measured? So it is measured in terms of that is angular distance of, it is measured in terms of angular distance of a place with respect to the equator. So what is the center line which passes through, no, this a ring, so that constitute the equator. So you will come to know what is latitude. So we'll come to the actual topic. See, this is one thing, the factor, so that explains, that defines the patterns of biodiversity. So that means why there are some species, why some areas are having more number of species and why some areas are having less number of species. Okay, let us see. So as we move on from equator to the poles, as we move on from equator to poles, As we move on from equator to poles, what happens? The species diversity declines. Okay, as we move on from, this is the equator, right, and these are the poles, north pole and south pole. So the number of species is more in this region. The biodiversity is more in this region. Okay, and the biodiversity, it is less towards the poles. So here the biodiversity, here and here the biodiversity is less when compared to the equator. So in the equator the biodiversity is more, it is maximum in the equator. As we move on from the equator towards the poles, either towards the north or towards the south, the species diversity, so the biodiversity decreases. Okay, so as we move on from equator towards the poles, either towards the north or towards the south, the biodiversity it goes on decreasing. So it goes on, the biodiversity it goes on decreasing. Okay. So here I will give you the 3 examples. So I will give you some places and I will compare the biodiversity in those places. I will take 3 examples. One is Colombia. Okay, so this is located, this place is located near the equator. So it comes in this region, it comes near the equator. And one more is, I took one more place, New York. So it is located 51 degree north. New York is located 51 degree north and it lies in, it comes in the temperate area. Comes in a temperate zone or the temperate area. So this Colombia, it comes near the equator, no? So it comes in the tropical region or the tropical areas. So tropical areas are the areas which lie near to the equator. Okay, so tropical areas are the areas which lie near the equator. So they are called as what? Tropical areas. And New York, it is located 51 degree north. Okay, so it lies in the temperate region or the temperate zone. And one more thing, one more place is Greenland. So this Greenland, it is located in Arctic region, polar region. So it is located 71 degree north. So it is located 71 degree north and it lies in the Arctic region. Okay, that is towards the Arctic region or the polar region. So the Arctic region will come at the extreme pole. Okay, so Arctic region are also called as a polar region. Okay, it lies in the northernmost part of the earth. Okay, so but whereas, so here comes the tropical area. Tropical areas are the areas which come near the equator and the temperate areas will lie between this Arctic zone and as well as the tropical zone. So the middle zone, what is known, that is the temperate areas or the temperate regions, and towards the pole. So towards the north pole it is the Arctic region or the polar region. Okay, so here the Colombia. The Colombia, it is located near the equator, right? So it has, when we compare the bird species, so when we compare the bird species in these 3 places, the Colombia is having, so I write here, 1400 species of birds. So if you compare the bird species in these 3 regions, the Colombia, which is located near the equator, is having a more number of bird species. So it is around 1400 species of birds. Okay, but in the New York, okay, so in the New York, which is located 51 degree north. Okay, it's located in the temperate zone or the temperate area. So the number of bird species in New York here, it is 105. It is how much here? 105. And so here it is 105. And Greenland, it is located 71 degree north, that is in the Arctic region, polar region, located in the North Pole. So it is having a very less number of bird species. It is having only 56 species of birds. So now we will come to know the diversity. So as we move on from equator towards the poles, the biodiversity, what happens? It declines or decreases. Okay. So why it decreases? So in the equator, there are environmental, it is having a more favorable environment for living. Okay. But in these areas, there were so many climatic and environmental fluctuations were happening. Okay. And so it is because of these reasons. So the equator having more number, it is more diverse in species when compared to the poles. Okay. So the Columbia, it is located near the equator. It is having 1,400 species of birds. So biodiversity is a maximum in the equator. It is maximum in the equator, and when it comes to New York, the number of bird species is around 105. So here the biodiversity is moderate here. In temperate areas, the biodiversity is moderate. And when it comes to the poles, that is in the Arctic region, in the Greenland, which is located in the Arctic region, no? So it is having only 56 species of birds. So here the biodiversity is minimum. And when we talk about India, in India, the number of bird species are more than 1,200. So because most of the land areas of India, they are located in the region of equator. So this is one of the this is one of the reason for the more biodiversity in India. So India, the most of the areas of India are located in the equator region. Okay. So that is why it is having a more number of species. So that we already talked about, that is 45,000 species of plants, and as well as that 76 species of animals. Okay. So it's also one of the 12 mega biodiversity countries of the world. Okay. So that is what the latitudinal gradient. So as we move on from equator towards the pole, the biodiversity reduces. The biodiversity, it goes on decreasing. It is maximum in the equator. So it is maximum in the equator, and that is in the tropical areas. It is maximum in the tropical areas, moderate in the temperate areas, and it is very less and minimum in the Arctic regions or the polar regions. Okay. So there are so many patterns are there, but latitudinal, so here they have given the latitudinal gradient. Okay. So this is what the patterns of biodiversity. So let us know why tropical areas are having a more number of species, it is more diverse in species when compared to the temperate areas. So what are the reasons for the rich number of richest biodiversity or rich biodiversity in tropical areas? So when compared to temperate areas, tropical regions are having more number of species, so that the biodiversity is more in the tropical areas when compared to the temperate areas. Let us see what are the reasons for that. Reasons for rich biodiversity in tropics. reasons for rich biodiversity in tropics. See here, the main thing is speciation is a function of time. Speciation is a function of time. So that means speciation means what here? Speciation means the formation of new species. So it will not occur immediately, it will not happen immediately, but it will take so many years, millions of years. So for the formation of new species, it will take millions of years. So in the temperate areas, what happens? So earlier these temperate areas, no, they were subjected to temperate areas, they are subjected to a frequent glaciations. They are subjected to frequent glaciations in the past. So these temperate areas, so in these temperate areas, there were frequent glaciations which have happened in the past. So it is because as they are subjected to these frequent glaciations, so this has killed so many number of plants and animals. So these glaciations, no, so because of these glaciations, so many species are destroyed because of this frequent glaciations which are happened in the temperate areas. So because of this reason, most of the species have lost, okay, most of the species are destroyed. But when we talk about the tropical areas, so I'll make two partition, temperate areas, a temperate region and tropical region. See, the tropical regions are having a highest biodiversity. It is more biodiversity, and when compared to the temperate regions or the temperate area. So the more diversification in tropical areas is mainly because of because let us see, I already discussed that the temperate areas, there were frequent glaciations. So there were frequent glaciations that were happened in the past. So because of these glaciations occurred, so it had killed so many species. Okay, so many species are destroyed because of the frequent glaciations. But here in tropical areas, there are no such glaciations. There were no such glaciations happen, and also these areas are being undisturbed. These areas, tropical areas, are being undisturbed. So as these tropical areas are undisturbed, so number of species survive. Okay, so they flourish and they reproduce. They in turn they reproduce and produce through course of time, through course of evolution. So that lead to the formation of new species. Okay, so this is because of one of the reason for the more diversity in tropical areas when compared to the temperate areas. Okay, this is one reason, and another reason is a suitable environment. So another reason is the suitable environment. So the environment is in tropical areas is more suitable for living when compared to the temperate areas. Because so these temperate areas, there are many fluctuations, right? Okay, there are many climatic fluctuations. So the climatic fluctuations were more, the temperature fluctuations more. Okay, so they are more seasonal also. So these are more seasonal. So these are more seasonal, and so temperature fluctuate, like first temperature fluctuations will be more here. Okay, so the climate here in temperate areas, the climate is keep on changing. So temperature fluctuations, and this is because of these reasons. So the organisms are not able to survive in such ever-changing climatic conditions. They fail to adapt to this ever-changing climatic conditions, so that number of species have died. Okay, number of species have died, and the number of species migrate to the other areas. Okay, so where they have a better environment for living. So it is because of high climatic fluctuations and temperature fluctuations, the species are not survived here. Okay, the species are not survived. So this what environment in these areas, no, it is not much suitable for our living. So that many of the species died and many of them migrate. Okay, so this is also one of the reason for less diversification in temperate, but this is not the case in tropical areas. So the tropical areas, the conditions are different. So they are less seasonal. So these are less seasonal. So they are subjected to less climatic fluctuations, less climatic fluctuations, less temperature fluctuations. So nearly they have most constant. So they are most constant and predictable. So they are having most constant environment with the less climatic fluctuations and all, and less seasonal. Okay, so this has supported the life forms. Okay, so that the number of life forms or the living organisms or the species diversity is more in tropical areas, because what environment it possesses, no, it is favorable for the living organisms to live and survive, so that the organisms will live and survive in those areas, so that the number of species diversity is more in tropical areas when compared to the temperate areas. And one more important thing is the availability of solar radiations. Okay, solar radiation, it is the very important requirement. The plants need that solar radiation. They are entirely dependent upon solar radiation for the photosynthesis. Okay, so that availability of solar radiation is more in the tropical areas, because the tropical areas, as they are living that is near the equator, so they will get they will receive more amount of, they will get more of solar radiation. They will get more solar radiation as they are towards the equator. So they will get more solar radiation when compared to the temperate areas. It is less here. Okay. So as they receive more solar radiations, the productivity will be obviously more, right? So if the productivity more means, so the number of that animals which dependent upon plant species, okay, will also be more. Okay, so as the productivity is more, the number of species also more. So all these are the reasons for the richest biodiversity in the cause for richest biodiversity in tropical areas when compared to the temperate areas. So due to the frequent glaciations in the past, due to climatic fluctuations, temperature fluctuations, okay, so our less availability of solar radiation, so the number of species present in temperate areas are less when compared to the tropical areas which are not subjected to that glaciations. So these areas are left undisturbed. Okay, and there is a less climatic fluctuations, they are having most constant environment, less seasonal, and they will get more solar radiation. So all these are the reasons for the highest biodiversity in tropical areas. So this is very important. So this question may be asked even in for board exam concerned and as well as NEET exam concerned. Okay, so the diversity, the more diversification in tropical areas is due to the following reasons. Okay, so or else what are the reasons for the more diversification in tropical areas when compared to the temperate areas? So you have to write all these points. Okay, and one more thing is the richest biodiversity on the earth is located, it is present in Amazon forest. So you know now Amazon forest, which is located in South America, tropical Amazon rainforest. So it is the largest rainforest in the world, having richest biodiversity. So the greatest biodiversity or the highest biodiversity on the earth is present in a tropical Amazonian rainforest. So it is located in South America. Is one of the largest rainforest in the world. So this Amazon forest is having highest biodiversity on the earth. So this is having highest biodiversity. It is having the highest biodiversity on earth. So that's why it is called as the lungs of forest. Amazon forest, no, it is called as the lungs of the forest. Why? Because this is the forest which is having highest biodiversity. The number of plant species is more in this forest. Okay, so the number of plant species is more, and maximum oxygen production occurs here. As the plant species are more in this area, so the oxygen, okay, about 20% of the earth oxygen is coming from this Amazon rainforest. So the oxygen production is more in this forest. So that's why the Amazon rainforest is called as the lungs of the forest. So which of the following rainforest is called as the lungs of the forest? Okay, or else the tropical Amazon rainforest is called as lungs of the forest because of the following reasons. Okay, like that also ask. And it is one of the highest biodiversity on the earth. So which of the following rainforest or which of the following places having a highest biodiversity on the earth? So this question may also may appear in your exam, NEET exam. So let us see the diversity of diversity in tropical Amazon rainforest. So taxa, here the number of species. So this table is very important. So it gives number of total number of species in the Amazon rainforest. So the number of plant species. Number of plant species, it is more than 40,000. So the number of plant species is more than 40,000, and mammals present in this rainforest, it is about the number of mammalian species, that is 427. So and when it comes to birds, so it is the number of bird species are 1,300. The number of bird species are 1,300, and when it comes to reptiles, so it is 378. It is 378. And the number of amphibian species. Number of amphibian species, again it is 427. The number of amphibian species is 427. And invertebrates, the total number of invertebrates, okay, it is more than 1,25,000. It is more than 1,25,000. Okay. So the number of plant species is more than 40,000. Number of mammal species, it is 427, and the number of bird species, it is around 1,300, and number of reptiles, it is 378, number of amphibian species, it is 427, and the number of invertebrates, it is 1,25,000. So such a vast biodiversity is present in the Amazon rainforest. So these are all discovered species. So still in this forest there are nearly millions of insect species that have to be discovered and described in the Amazon rainforest. Okay. So tropical Amazon rainforest, it is located in South America. It is called as the lungs of the forest because we are getting 20% of the earth oxygen from this rainforest because of the presence of more diverse plants. And also this is the rainforest which is having a highest biodiversity on the earth. So these are all some of the plants and animal species that have been discovered and described in the tropical Amazon rainforest. Still there are so many millions of insect species are there, so that are not yet discovered. Okay, they need to be discovered and described. Okay, so this is what the biodiversity of the tropical Amazon rainforest and south, which is located in South America. So all these numbers are very, very important from the need point of view. So you please write on this number. You please copy the number and go through it. Okay, so I end up this session now. So in this session, what we discussed in this session, how many species are present on the earth and how many are in India. So according to that IUCN, so what IUCN stands for? International Union of Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. So according to IUCN, the number given was slightly more than 1.5 million. So according to some scientists, the number is 5 to, the total number of global species is that is between 5 to 50 million species, and according to Robert May, so what is the number? It is 7 million. But according to the latest estimation, the number is, so according to latest estimation, the number is 8.7 million. Okay, so the estimated number, the latest estimation is 8.7 million. So I think I said 8.7% it seems. So it is not 8.7%. According to a recent estimation, the latest estimation, the total number of global species richness is 8.7 million. Okay, so in the 8.7 million, that 6.5 million species of plants, so they are present on the land, and 2.2 million species are present in the ocean depth. Okay, so make this correction, 8.7 million. Okay, and so this is what the latest estimation. Okay, so this is what the latest estimation, and so this is what the global biodiversity. So when it comes to India, so India is it covers only 2.4% of the land area being diversity, that is 8.1% of the biodiversity. So the share of the species global diversity is 8.1%. So that's why it is considered as one of the 12 mega diversity countries of the world. So it's having 45,000 species of non plant species, and nearly twice the number of that animal species. Okay. Still there are many species of plants and animals are yet to be discovered in India. So that estimation was nearly 1 lakh species of plants and more than 3 lakh species of animals that need to discover and describe. Okay. And see when it comes to our global issues, so of the total number 70% of them are the animals. Okay. So 70% of them are animals and 22% are the plants, and among animals the 70% are the insects. So and also one more aspect that comes after the investigations, the number of fungi species also. So we talked about animal, plants and insect species. So when we talk about the fungi species, so the fungi species having the total number of, I am talking about the globe diversity. So the number of fungi species is more. So it is about 72,000. There are nearly 72,000 species of fungi. So there are nearly 72,000 species of fungi. Okay. So 72,000 species of fungi, it is that is more than the combined diversity of fishes, amphibians, reptiles and mammals. So when we add all the these numbers, that is total number of amphibians, total number of reptiles, total number of species of fishes and mammals, so that will roughly come around 45 to 46,000. So but the number of fungi species, it is more than the combined species of fishes, reptiles, reptiles, amphibians and mammals. So it is more than the combined total of fishes, reptiles, amphibians and mammals. Okay, the number of fungi species is more. So this is what a global diversity. So when it comes to India, it is covers 2.4% of the land area with 8.1% of the species diversity, and it is one of the 12 mega biodiversity countries in the world. And so that is what the biodiversity in India, and it having 45,000 species of plant and more the number of twice the number of animals. And when it comes to patterns of biodiversity, so the patterns of biodiversity depends upon some factor. So that we talked about latitudinal gradient. As we go on from equator towards the poles, the biodiversity will go on decreasing. So the tropical areas which lie near the equator are having more number of species, and the temperate areas are having a moderate number of the species. And when we go to the poles, that is in the Arctic region, the number of species diversity declines. It is a minimum. And we also discussed the reasons for rich diversity in tropical areas. Okay. And this is what the biodiversity of tropical Amazon rainforest, so which is having the highest biodiversity on the earth, and these are the number of estimated species. Okay. All of you understood this much. Okay. Thank you.